G'day everyone, welcome to this edition of DURKO's Notebook for the 2024 Las Vegas Grand Prix. Much like the Vegas circuit itself, I thought the designated clean. The circuit itself looked like it was covered in Bolivian marching powder. Anyway, pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show. You wouldn't fucking read about it. Also, in past times and in the years since the announcement of this Vegas Grand Prix coming, and I was always critical of it and said, no, it's just going to be another, whimsical joke. And I have got to probably withdraw those words. I mean, I don't think it's the most challenging circuit, but it is admittedly fast for a street circuit. I mean, it's the second longest on the calendar, and they get some astonishing speeds down those two straights. That's one thing I do like about it. And of course, with that speed and the long straights, when the DRS zone's enabled, they obviously can get a big tow, and it brings about a lot of close racing between the 20 cars that are on the circuit. And the interesting point was Red Bull Racing admitted they turned up with the wrong rear wing, and there was some work done to it over the course of the weekend to grind it down because they weren't getting the right drag for the wing that they expected. And they were, of course, stuck with it because it was the one they had agreed to for the race for the weekend. But it didn't prove too bad for Max, obviously, in the end. Now, obviously, Colapinto had a massive crash in Q2, and he absolutely obliterated that Williams, bent the tub again, so he had to get a whole new chassis. And it's a testament to the Williams team, and also acknowledging the safety of the cars, that he was able to walk away from a 50G crash into the walls like that. And it points that, obviously modern F1 cars are about as safe as a Volvo with a fish sticker on the rear as to how safe they really are. Now, the pit exit after Colapinto's crash turned into a car park, of course, and the drivers were doing all they can because it was only about a minute and a half for them to dial in the last lap for Q2 to get through to Q3. And unfortunately, due to it being a car park, and George Russell was one of the biggest offenders in holding up the pit lane exit, which may be something that needs to be reviewed. But of course, Checo was cut out and he was stuck in Q2. So it was another weekend to forget for him, and I really can't see him being in the Red Bull seat in any position next year. I think the team is just going to say goodbye to him, and that's it. Tsunoda's pit exit during the race, he had a funny incident where he tried to get in front of one of the other cars, and he took out the speed limit bollard at the end of the pit lane. He says he couldn't see it, but obviously he's that far down in the car, he probably couldn't. So overall, not the most exciting race I've ever watched. Certainly thrilling for the speed, as I said, but other than that, I can't really say it was the most exciting race I've ever watched. And Max, of course, was crowned the 2024 champion, so that's his fourth in a row. And I think in some way it sort of overlooked George Russell getting his third career win. Now, some people have asked why was there no team orders to allow Lewis to come in front of George. Well, it's quite obvious that he was 10 seconds in front of him. And Lewis is about to depart the seas for Maranello. So I think in the interest of George becoming the number one top dog at Merck, they're really starting to favour him, because I don't think they're going to show Antonelli any favours unless he absolutely obliterates George, which could happen. But yeah, I think it was fair not to play swapsies and put Lewis Hamilton in front of George just for the sake of it. So at the end of the day, interesting weekend. So that's it. We're coming to the close of the season. Only got 2 races to go in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. But that's it for this edition of DURKO's Notebook. Not much more to say, sorry. It was just one of those weekends where there was a lack of action on track, so to speak. So until next week when I come back with the Qatar Notebook, I'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.